Hi all, my name is Ryan and welcome to my channel What the Pop, where we discuss pop culture in general and Buffy a lot. Now if you like what I do, then click like, subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I upload. If you have any Buffy loving friends, share it with them. It all helps the algorithm. The usual spoiler alert. If you haven't seen Buffy at all, I may talk about things in each episode that relate to future plot points. So if you don't like spoilers, I suggest you subscribe and come back once you've watched it all. A plot summary. Field trip at the zoo. Bullies harass Buffy. Bullies harass other kid. Xander intervenes. Hyenas possess the bullies and Xander. Xander gets mean. Dodgeball. Bullies and Xander turn on their teammate. They don't attack Buffy. Xander is cruel to Willow. Won't say anything to Buffy. They eat the school mascot. Buffy makes the connection. Xander molests Buffy. Buffy knocks Xander out. Eek! They eat Principal Faludi. Pack attacks Willow. Buffy lures them to the zoo. Zookeeper knew all along. Takes possession into himself. Zookeeper attacks Willow. Xander defends her. Buffy defends him. Zookeeper gets eaten. Xander pretends he doesn't remember anything. Giles calls him out. Apart from Buffy, video games and martial arts, one of my other loves is the animal kingdom. Because, well, animals are better than people. As a kid, I devoured books on animals, and that love of animals has translated into a love of animal documentaries as they've become more prevalent. Thank you, Sir David Attenborough. So, as a result, I have a fairly extensive knowledge of the animal kingdom. Now, an interesting aspect of this episode is that they chose hyenas specifically. Not lions, or wolves, or any other pack hunter, but specifically spotted hyenas. Now, while I don't recall that they're ever actually explicitly stated to be spotted hyenas, they do have the characteristic hyena laugh, which is a trait of the spotted hyena, also known as the laughing hyena. Now it's interesting they chose spotted hyenas because spotted hyenas are a matriarchal society, largely based on strength. The female hyenas are larger and stronger, they have an external reproductive organ, a pseudopenis, and they dominate the males. This is important, particularly in the first half of this episode, because we see that the hyena-possessed pack never engages with Buffy, as Buffy would likely be the matriarch of a pack. We see in the dodgeball game that when Buffy is the last person standing on the opposing team, that the pack turns on someone on their own team rather than attack a matriarch, reinforcing the power-dominant hierarchy of the pack society. Similarly, when Xander is cruel to Buffy, and Buffy basically dares him to say something to her, he just laughs and walks away rather than engage. Now while I said in the last episode that Cordelia is the what-if Buffy to her human side, Xander and the pack in this episode represent our first look at the what-if version of the Slayer side. Xander is presented here as how Buffy would be if she just let the more primal Slayer side dominate. And we do learn in the future that the Slayer power is pretty much a type of possession, as the Shadow Men fuse the essence of a demon with Sinea, the first Slayer. We get a much deeper exploration of this in the character of Faith in later seasons, but we do see how primal it can be in Sinea, who was extremely primal in her appearance in the 4-season episode Restless. Now this episode also briefly contrasts the power-dominant matriarchal hyena society with another matriarchal society, that of elephants. While I'll talk about the scene in the next section, what's important in this context is that elephant matriarchies are all about family, and the success of the family doesn't stem so much from how powerful the pachyderm matriarchy is, but from her knowledge of their territory and the seasons and the available food sources. And ultimately her decisions are around what is best for the family unit. Pachyderm matriarchies are built on wisdom. The importance of chosen family message has at this stage in Buffy, which I remind you is only the 6th episode, been well and truly hammered home. But just in case you momentarily forgot that this is one of the primary themes of the show, this episode opens with a scene of bullies harassing Buffy for having no friends, while on the excursion to the zoo. once more highlighting the notion of the Slayer being she alone. After this interaction, Buffy approaches the elephant exhibit, which has a big sign saying, "Family Matters." As I stated before, family is very important in the matriarchal society of elephants. But then Buffy's chosen family, Xander and Willow, arrive once more. She is no longer she alone. Now Buffy is a bit meh about the whole field trip, saying that they did this every year at her old high school, and it's all same old, same old. But Xander says, this isn't about just looking at a bunch of animals, it's about not being in class. And Buffy replies, you know, you're right, suddenly the animals look shiny and new. This reflects how her chosen family has also changed her perspective on being the Slayer. She's realising now she has a support system in place, and that being the Slayer isn't going to be as lonely as she once thought. In relation to the pack choices detailed earlier, Buffy is leaning to the knowledge-based family unit of the elephant over the power-based society of the hyena. Xander and Willow are her pack. This episode brings up an interesting topic in a universe where demons are real, one of accountability. Now we find out at the end of season 3 from Anya that most of the demons on Earth that Buffy is fighting aren't pure demons. They're all like vampires, which are human-demon hybrids. In this episode, Xander and the pack are possessed by hyena spirits and do some pretty awful stuff. As a pack, they eat the pig mascot, and while Xander is trying to sexually assault Buffy, the rest of the pack are eating Principal Flutie. Now at the end of the episode, we find out that Xander remembers all of it, although he doesn't admit this to Buffy and Willow. So, how much should Xander and the pack be held accountable for what they did while they were possessed? It would seem fairly simple to say that one can't be held accountable for what they do when possessed by a spirit. But when you look at the actions they took, it certainly points to an underlying current of thought. If we look at Xander, what Xander did, for instance, the longer he was possessed, the further he moved away from things that a hyena would do, and did things that an uninhibited Xander would do. Much like we saw Jesse do when he became a vampire. It's been established that Xander is attracted to Buffy, and he went after Buffy in a sexual manner. Why is that important? Well, as I stated before, spotted hyenas are a matriarchal power-based society. A man acting on hyena instincts alone would never be sexually aggressive towards a mate. Male spotted hyenas approach females passively, and those that do are far more successful. So Xander being sexually aggressive isn't the hyena in him, it's Xander himself. In episode 2, we saw a similar effect on Jesse when he became a vampire. Slightly more confident than Xander, Jesse would at least attempt to pass at Cordelia when he was human. He would only to be rebuffed and to try again later. But when Jesse became a vampire, he became more confident and more sexually aggressive, just as Xander did in this episode. It would have been interesting if Cordelia had still rebuffed Jesse, but his newfound confidence as a vampire meant she didn't. It should be noted that the way a female hyena's reproductive organs are designed, with the pseudo-penis construction and the false scrotum, it is physically impossible for a female hyena to be raped. I bring this up because at no point after the incident does Buffy feel like she was violated, treating it as funny, as she never felt like she was in danger. This is largely because she knows that Xander would never hurt her or try anything similar if he wasn't possessed. However, some of the things he says while possessed are certainly the thoughts of Xander, and not of the hyena spirit. While we saw some of the jealousy and pettiness in the last episode when Buffy was attracted to Owen, we saw it in Teacher's Pet when he said Buffy was jealous about Miss French, and we see it here again when he is assaulting Buffy and says, "We both know what you really want. You want danger, don't you? You like your men dangerous. Dangerous and mean, like Angel, your mystery guy. Well, guess who just got mean?" And we continue to see this jealousy of the men Buffy dates, even when he starts dating Cordelia. He does eventually grow out of it, maybe as he appreciates Buffy more as a friend, or maybe just because he's older and more mature about these things. But in these earlier episodes, we see that behind the comic exterior and the everyman role he plays, Xander is somewhat petty and flawed. Now the events in this episode briefly surface again when Xander accidentally reveals to Buffy and Willow that he does remember the events. And Xander refers to Angel as dangerous, but at this point we don't know that Angel is a vampire, and he's done nothing yet to suggest he may be dangerous. He's only been helpful. Of course, we find out the truth of that statement in the next episode of Angel. Now my favourite quote, this one is more than just a single quote, but it's my show so I'll allow it. Giles says, "Xander's taken to teasing the less fortunate?" Buffy replies, "Uh-huh." "And there's been a noticeable change in both clothing and demeanour." "Yes." "And well, otherwise all his spare time is spent lounging about with imbeciles. It's bad, isn't it?" "It's devastating. He's turned into a 16-year-old boy. Of course you'll have to kill him." Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this look into the Buffyverse, please like, subscribe, and check out some other videos now. If I missed anything from the episode, or you disagreed with anything that I've said, put it in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.